Hi, everyone, and welcome to my conversation here today. The title of this conversation is Identity Journey Maps, a geospatial road trip of math content identity. And the overarching idea here is I want to talk a little bit about a project I've been working on with some of my students in the School of Education, people that are learning to become math and science teachers, getting them to kind of share their thoughts on why they got interested in doing what they're doing as teachers of math and science, and how to think about ways to connect that to their students that may not have that same connection. So again, my name is Dennis DeBay. I'm a clinical teaching track assistant professor in the School of Education and Human Development, and my background is in math and science education. So welcome. I want to start today with this idea of thinking about a willing suspension of disbelief. I think that what we need to do is we need to think about, and acknowledge that there are barriers to our students' learning that aren't necessarily as a result of what the students do or do not do, but what we're doing. Because students often come to our classes and don't necessarily feel a direct connection to our content. Sometimes they're taking a course solely because it's a requirement or something that they're in a class with a friend with, but they may not have that direct connection. Meanwhile, we're all experts and have this, what I would call a content identity in our field. But again, it's not something that our students have necessarily or inherently. And in fact, when I work with math and science students, also, it's been an experience of dehumanization. They've not really had a connection. And so what I've been trying to think about is how we have those connections as teachers, instructors, experts, the reason why we do what we do, and then use that as a way to kind of think about how can we bring that to our students. How can we have our students bring their worlds into our content so that they feel like they could be writers or cartographers or scientists or even mathematicians? So the background, I teach this course that's a fairly new course that's called Planning to Learn in STEM Education. And the whole idea of this course is how we think about, as mathematicians and scientists, how our students learn in these content areas. And so it's kind of an introduction to pedagogy course. And what's interesting is that it's always been an online course over the last few years. We have some students that are working in Denver schools in Aurora, kind of local in the greater Denver area. And then we have students as well that work in some of our rural areas like La Junta and Trinidad. And I was thinking, these students are working in very different contexts, and I have to bring them together and have them work together in the same context for an entire summer. And so what we started doing was just kind of pulling up Google Maps and saying, this is where I live and this is where I teach, and this is kind of the connection that I have. And people would do that in Denver, people would do that in La Junta, so that they could share and start building connections. But I wanted to expand upon that and think about ways that we could really connect that to our reasons for wanting to do what we do and how that might connect to our students' reasons. And so I thought, well, let's tell a story. And a really interesting way to do that, I thought, connected to the geography of where we are or where we've been, are using these Arcgis story maps. And basically what it is an online platform that allows you to create presentations, tell stories, but you can add data to it. You can add geographical location. And so I'm going to do a quick stop my share here and show you an example. And so this is an example here of what happened after the Titanic. And so it geographically, in real time, in using data, you can look around and click on and look at different areas and look at some of the passengers. Did they survive the Titanic? Did they die? Where did they end up, kind of thing? And you can go through, and as you click on the map, you're able to connect to different data points. You can look at all through all passengers. You can look at it through the first class, second class, and third class people throughout. And so that's a really kind of brief look at these maps. And so what I thought, what if we go through and we talk about the experiences that we've had, and then be able to build a very kind of participant-driven project, an opportunity where students can create something, look at what other people have inspired other people, and drive them to think about what might inspire them to kind of connect to different areas of the content. So instead of kind of saying that they may not have the background or be ready to be a math person, which isn't really a thing, or a science person, how can we really acknowledge their identities and bring their worlds into our content? And so, yeah, I just wanted to add this quote. I think that directly connects to the idea of what we're trying to look at here. So I created this assignment called the Identity Journey Map, or as we call it in class, the IJM. And the purpose of this assignment really is to think about exactly that. What are the things that brought us to where we are, that help build that passion, that wonder for the work that we do? Were there key events or contexts or even people that have shaped our paths? Have we been able to connect to different events that have happened, or guiding principles, construct your own, in this case, mathematical or scientific identity? Have that time to reflect on that and then describe those experiences and how that connects directly to our work. So again, what I want to do here for a second is very briefly share with you an example that someone created that they've allowed me to share. And so again, this is that ArcGIS story map platform. You can see that you can add a lot of different type of media. So this person grew up in Puerto Rico. They showed a YouTube video connected to right down the road from where they lived. As they move on, they talked about where they got their start and interest. They created maps that took a look at some of the areas where they grew up and connected to, getting a chance to look through forests and tide pools and explore different opportunities. The things that spark the imagination, again, you can add a lot of different kinds of media throughout. Being able to travel and move to different areas to learn, have different educational experiences. And as you see, kind of make this fun, make it engaging, but allow students to be able to share their paths, their reasons, their things that they do to help bring them to their content identities. And it's been a really wonderful experience to date. The presentations have been fantastic. I had them share them out. The wonderful thing about this technology is that although it is a professional technology, institutions of higher learning usually have access to story maps and ArcGIS online. And they've actually made it so that any pre-K through 12 school can have access to these technologies as well for free. And so what are the next steps? I've been building this out. I started off in this one class. I now have students that continue on, add to their stories in other courses of mine. I've had them build other different types of stories. And now I'm starting to work with my student teachers to think about, well, how do we actually build this into the curriculum that they're working on with their own high school students? My next steps is also to do a little bit of research to learn the impacts of people getting a chance to share their identities and how that might connect to building other people's identities within their content. And that's everything. Thank you so much for listening and paying attention to my presentation. I've left my email and Twitter there below if you have any questions or if you want to chat about it. I've been building this out in some other courses as well. And I think it's a really kind of fun, engaging opportunity. And I hope you found this interesting. Thank you so much.